All right, so here we continue from DevRelCon New York City 2025. And it's been a lot of great conversations, developer adoption, awareness, growth, AI, obviously. But there's one topic we haven't tapped in. And I think it's probably one of the topics that we should have a conversation first before talking about everything we have talked about before. It's about the responsible of AI, the social of AI. And I wanted to get started with this conversation by asking you, let's pretend that I'm an outsider. I don't know anything about either developer relations, AI, technology. I'm just a lawyer or maybe a cooker who loves to, who has a restaurant. How can you explain to me what's your job? What's the value that you bring into this world? And what's exactly that you're doing here?
Wow, you're starting with a difficult one.
Right away.
Yeah. So I'm in DevRel, but I'm basically focused on community building and social impact. And the social impact part is very much focused on developers. So that's the DevRel that we create. And it's empathetic relationship.
Right.
It's a relationship that's created based on purpose, based on human values. Because I think that whenever we talk about developers, we talk about them as this alien species that we don't know anything about and we need to figure them out.
Right.
And we forget that they're just humans as all of us.
Right.
And they have values and they are led by those values. So if we tap into that, probably can get much more of them or we can create better relationships because I think that's what the world does, right?
And at the end, this is something that I read from one of my favorite books called Start With Why from Simon Sinek. And he was saying like 100% of the businesses that you do is with humans. 100% of the selling that you will do, it's humans. Like every interaction point in your social network, in your business network, in your personal life, it's with humans. And at the end, that's going to drive, if you have empathy with all of us around you, that's pretty much developer relations at the end.
Of course. It's a human relation, right? And then we focus on a specific human group that are working with technology, I guess. So we do connect about technology, right? And we connect about different products and things. But I think the base of everything should be that human relationship built on trust and built on those values that we all share. And when I speak about social impact or about the work we do, I always say I believe that everyone has the power to change the world.
That's correct.
They just need the opportunity for that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I love to do. It's just creating those opportunities, inviting your community to be part of that. And from my experience, they embrace it.
That's
They want to do it. They want to be there. We have developers who are providing completely pro bono their skills, building applications for nonprofits. So they have their real jobs, but they're still building additional applications for a nonprofit. And they do that with so much passion and dedication that it's just, you know, it's beautiful to see. And you know that you're doing the right thing because you're using those skills or something they're very good at in service of something good. And that's a good motivator for developers' behavior, human behavior.
exactly. So a lot of the reasons why sometimes we go to events like this is to build community, to support each other, obviously to make connections that they can help us elevate. But what you just said about not only coming here and connect with other people who have the privilege to be here, but also help others that doesn't have that privilege, I think that's very powerful. If someone's watching this right now and say like, I could I have more or a bigger impact from a social standpoint, how can they get started? Like how can they find a place to serve, a place to help within the community, um, and be able to be more active in this particular space? Well, what would you be your advice?
Excellent question. And I have a small exercise that I like to do personally, but also with the teams I work with. And it's like find your sweet spot for the social impact. So I always say, first thing you need to think about what the world needs. And we all probably think it needs a reboot, but that's another thing. as on
Bigger conversation.
yeah. But and I don't mean about what the whole world needs. It's just your world. It's where you can create impact. Your family, your community, your company, your local community where you live, your neighborhood. Right. That's your world. So first, think about that. What do they need? And you know that because you're in contact with those persons. It's your communities, are your people. You know what they need. The second thing is to understand what are your values, because I say a lot of times, for example, at OutSystems, someone was saying, why don't we invest in sustainability and all those kind of things to promote it? I was like, but we're a tech company, it doesn't really make sense. We're not like, I think it makes much more sense if we do something with our technology that is going to help, right, than doing something abstract. Like, it's very nice that Coca-Cola is investing in clean oceans, but that's because they're the biggest polluters with the plastic, right? So that makes sense for them. So I think it's important to look at what are your values. What do you think the world should have more or better?
Yeah.
And then the third thing for those three circles is, what are your skills? What are you good at? What you can give to your community that no one else can. And for a company, that can mean a product, right?
Yeah.
For a person, that can mean a certain skill. Like you're good in interviewing people. You're good at taking out from people what, a good conversation. So why not doing that? And you can do that also for a purpose, for a different purpose, right? So thinking about those three things, about what the world needs, what are your values, because they're going to lead you and motivate you even when the things get difficult, right?
Yeah.
And what are your skills, because you definitely always have someone that no one else has. So that's your superpower and you should use it. So I would say that's the sweet point. That's where you should act. And the small step towards that is just like, I volunteer for a local nonprofit that is just delivering food boxes to people in need. And I just went there because it's physically close to my house and it was convenient. But
Makes sense.
that's first step. And I've been with them for 4 years now. So
So
it's those small things that start from convenience or for something like that, but then it builds a relationship and helps you find that place to work.
that's beautiful. That's a great advice. And off cameras, we were talking about the huge impact in consumption in terms of energy and water that takes using AI tools. Like we all feel very comfortable now opening ChatGPT and just ask things that we could continue just to Google ourselves. Um, but and that's the way we have seen. I mean, from a company standpoint, we see more traffic coming from OpenAI than from the standard SEO pages that we have. It's because people are using OpenAI, ChatGPT, or Claude or whatever to make their searches now. But the impact that has on the energy consumption and water consumption, like, is it's around 10 times higher to make a search. Like if I say, I don't know, what's the current weather here in New York, that ChatGPT is going to probably go throughout their large language models to retrieve that information, to be able to parse it. It takes more computing resources and water resources, obviously, for the amount of servers to run that than just a Google search, which has probably just indexers or memory cache, stuff like that, which are cheaper and less consumption. So long story short, there's also ways that you can not only help by doing, but also stop doing things. Like, for example, being more conscious about how you use this tool. So can you explain to me or extend in this topic about how is AI impacting from a social standpoint, and anything around this topic that you can bring to the table?
I think especially when we talk about technology, and like it here at DevRelCon, we had a lot of talks about AI.
Yeah.
And I think that AI is amazing. It creates a lot of opportunity. I think it's leveling up a lot of things that might be have left behind. I think it's going to make us more efficient. It's going to make products better. Communities more connected. Whatever. I think it's a really good thing. But then for me personally, I think that AI has actually there are two big topics that no one talks about, like here or even outside.
Anyway.
First one, yeah, is what you mentioned, is that the sustainability and the energy consumption. And I think no one talks about it because because
It's uncomfortable.
yeah, and then because it's like if you ask AWS what is their carbon footprint, they are unable to calculate with all of the cloud resources and AI and everything that is used. And then if you think about AppSmith or OutSystems, a company that are cloud based or use those AI services, you cannot calculate that because they're coming from third parties and things like that, right? So you actually don't know. You know it's huge, but also you don't want to talk about it because you want people to use those services because it's hype, because it's cool, because right. And I think a lot of people are using ChatGPT or other AI, tools because they don't want to feel they're left behind. They are not doing this. It's like I did this with Gemini. I did this with Thing, and the truth is like you could do that with other tools, which would you probably do the same thing, but it would use less energy, for example. I think AI is still a very new thing. It's very hype, right? So that's why no one is entering. Everyone wants to try it and everything. And I think that eventually, and maybe too late, this is going to become a topic of it. People are already talking about it, but for example, at this conference or other places, you don't hear people talk about it. And the second thing is that companies provide all these amazing AI products. Um, and then I wonder, yeah, we give products and then we just don't care what people do with them because as much as AI is good, there is also a lot of space for a misuse, right?
Yes.
So who controls that? Who is responsible for that? Is it the product or who is issuing the product, or it's just the sole responsibility of those who are using it? I think we also have a responsibility to educate our user or to create the guardrails or at least to talk about it. And for example, I'm running a social impact hackathon annually, and last year we were focused on AI. This year we are focusing on agentic. Agentic is now right the thing. And one of the things I always do, we do enablement session, right? One of the enablement session is ethical AI.
Mm. Right.
I don't care what you do with it. Be ethical about it, right? Because we saw yesterday in the Google demo
Yeah.
of taking a picture and creating the whole video scripted a few seconds. Imagine the impact that can make on people's lives if you start creating fake videos or to harm someone. So I think that the responsibility should be on the side of the product as well somehow, and not only those who are using it. And I don't see that being addressed in the tech world.
Yeah, and actually in the creative space, I come from also the creative space from a filmmaking standpoint, and obviously the way that AI can now generate video, and probably in the next 6 months that will be even better, almost indistinguishable for regular video. And that's impacting a lot of the creative filmmakers, not only because they're losing their jobs, which is a whole different topic we can talk afterwards, but it's like the problem is that the people can generate the videos. The problem is where all of these companies gather their data to be able to create such a high quality videos, because we don't understand that at the end, the quality of an LLM, the quality of these machine learning algorithms is as many data that as it gets. If it has more data sets, it's capable of doing better. So something that I was talking also to Joseph yesterday, that is crazy how AI can. So I have a picture of me. Maybe I'll put the video in the editing so people can see it. It's just a picture of myself in front, and basically AI was capable of like doing a 360 camera around me, and so it for some reason somehow got my back and the back of my neck perfectly as it actually is, but it was just a frontal image. And so Joseph was telling me, yeah, he also saw uh, one of the tool that he has this long bear, and basically was capable of asking how would I look without the bear, and it was just like him. Like there's no picture of me in internet without it, but it's still capable. But it's not because it's magical. There's not such thing as magical AI. It's just because it has so much data. It's capable of having a profile of, oh, that's me. I have this type of body, this type of head, etc. And it has so much data around this type of body form that is capable of saying this is probably how that person neck is, and it's actually very accurate. and also with Joseph. Like, he has so much data about people's pictures. He's capable of coming up with a really good, um, outcome of it. And it's the same with filmmaking. Like, you can ask, can you make a video of Barack Obama talking about, and it's gonna bring his voice and his physical. Why? Because there's a tons of data of it. So literally, it's all of these tools are training on data, uh, which basically I don't know if they have the whole permission of that. So long story short, their social impacts not only as us as consumers, but also like the companies behind these products, right?
I think so. I mean, and like I said, there is also the question of how that data was collected.
Yeah.
Because we have in Europe, I'm from Europe, so we have this data protection thing. People cannot do can consent and reject, and we don't need to give and all of those things. And for example, we were collecting CVs of people like just to help them to find jobs from developer perspective, and then we realized we cannot keep those data because you get concerned, but I'm pretty sure that when it comes for money and profit and like making the things very good, you're going to find a way to get that data,
Yeah.
right? Because no one is going to ask, no one is going to go through all of the data and ask, where did you get that?
Yeah.
Someone else collected, you just bought it or you just got access to it,
It's
right?
hard to get to the root of where it actually came from.
And that's scary. And all of these things that you were mentioning now, it's scary how much realistic things can be, right?
Yeah.
And the amount of data that is available out there about you that you're not even aware of,
Yeah.
that can be used for certain things. But another thing that I also wanted to mention, and I think you strike the point and we also talk about it, is the fact that doing all those things has to do with creativity. And I don't think AI is creative. I don't think AI has capability to be creative or innovative. They collect a lot of data and put them in a different thing, so it creates something new. But I think it's human capability. That's something that we are unique for, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
For creative thinking and all of that is getting diminished. You mentioned also that when we were talking before that people using AI in their daily tasks and works actually is shrinking. Let's say like that,
Right.
their brains.
There's a paper, I will put it on the link in the description, that basically, I don't remember which institute run this test, which basically they collected brain information, brain activity from people who uses ChatGPT or whatever this AI tool on their day-to-days, to send emails, to send messages to their family, to propose something from their businesses, whatever. And people who doesn't use those tools just do their own brains to write the email, to write the proposal, to talk to their family, whatever. And the brain activity is obviously bigger. And if you don't use your brain, long story short, it just start to losing their capabilities. So if you take that and you scale it up of years, let's say in the upcoming 5 years, we just continue to use these tools and leverage them, obviously our brains will become less capable because we use it less. And at the end, it's just brain activity, and there's no brain activity, then all of our capabilities of our brains and the connection between the size of the brains are just going to be impacted. So that's huge.
It is. It is. Because it seems that technology is making us dumber, but it should make us better and more powerful.
Okay. So I have one last question for you. We have these spicy sauces. You don't have to try them. It's okay.
I will.
Oh,
I want.
all right. Well, you can try it on, but it's basically if you want to take it home, you have to answer a question, which is you have to give me your spicy take on whatever you want to say, like AI or devil, whatever, like something that's spicy. Like we say, this is controversial. Just like the sauce is gonna be spicy for you. Like I wanna see your spicy thoughts here.
Well, just to keep continuing this conversation, I think that when you speak about AI, we need to bring the negative of it. And I think that all tech companies have to be accountable for the product they're delivering and provide certain education or warning or whatever, but we need to talk about it.
Yeah.
I think we need to talk about impact of AI and we need to talk about both things. Whose responsibility it is if eventually get to be abused and misused, right?
Yep.
And two, we still have only one planet, and we are spending its resources without even thinking about it. And AI, everything we did in the past 10 or 20 years to get like lower the carbon print and all these things, I think with the 6 months of AI, it's like gone.
Good.
Yeah. So I think my spice or my hot take on this is use AI. AI is amazing. Keep creating amazing products because it's really revolutionary. It's really changing the way we are doing things, but with caution and with accountability.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time. It was great having not only this conversation, but the ones we have been having throughout these 2 days. And I hope you have a safe flight back to Europe. Which place of Europe you're located?
Portugal is.
Portugal.
Yeah.
I'd love to be there one day. I haven't been to Portugal.
I will welcome you with our hot sauce there.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Bye.